Walking down these empty streets, echoes of the past I meet. Lost and wandering for so long, searching for where I belong. Sunrise breaking through the night, guiding me back to the light. Every step feels like a prayer, promises hang in the air. Come back home, heal your heart, where the love never parts. Come back home, find your peace in this place.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Relationship Friday. It is Relationship Friday. Welcome to the Dear Brother and Dear Sister podcast. We're streaming on both channels today. Every Friday we come together and we mix both podcasts together, the Dear Brother and the Dear Sister. And our topic for today, Relationship Friday, is what are the benefits of marriage? What are the benefits of marriage? I had a young man yesterday on the podcast. He came and he asked a question. He said, what are the benefits of marriage? He said, I can't get that through my mind, and I'm watching more and more online. Where a lot of people are having this discussion. That are there any benefits? Let me see here. Okay, let me see if I can. All right. I'm watching more and more people ask the question, are there any benefits to marriage? And it seems like a lot of young guys are asking that question. And it seems like a lot of young women are feeling the same. So I've been divorced. I know what it is to be married, to go through divorce. I got married at 21 under religious pressure. So we can talk about that too. The reasons why I get married, why people are getting married. I also want to talk today about the difference between marriage and marrying well. So this is just the beginning of our show. I got time today. We're not limited to a half-hour show. We got some time this morning, and I want to just open up this floor to men and to women. I know it's early in the morning, but this is the time our show starts, right? We control the morning waves. I will be starting evening shows soon, primetime shows. That'll be a lot of fun. But every Friday is Relationship Friday, and we just slap something on the table. We slap the topic on the table, and the topic on our Relationship Friday table, what are the benefits to marriage? And this is the second question. Is there any benefit to marriage? Now, I don't want people attacking. Our Relationship Fridays are not about attacks. We are not the common YouTube channel where it's a whole bunch of bashing and a whole bunch of people saying crazy things to one another. My podcasts are for healing, for understanding, because I don't think men and women have that many problems. I think we have a problem understanding that we're different. I don't think that we struggle with the fact that we're different. And instead of learning our differences between one another and learn how those differences benefit each other, we fight over our differences. Men want a woman to be how he wants her to be. Women want men to be how they want them to be. And the fact is that a lot of us don't embrace the differences, so we just curse each other. Oh, men are no good, or women are no good. And the fact is we all need to slow the pace down and realize that we were created differently. Period. We were created differently. But at the same time, we're the same. We have the same needs. We have the same emotional issues, right? But this enemy got us thinking we're so different, so we're at war. My fear is that relationships won't stop. People won't stop getting together. People won't stop making children. So if we have this society now where podcasts and all these shows are pushing men and women being enemies of each other, then how do we produce healthy-minded children? We don't. We create another generation of people that don't love each other. And let me throw this in before I forget it. Do you realize, I'm 44 years old, but do you realize this new generation, my son is 20, my twin daughters are 18, and my 7-year-old, I got a 7-year-old daughter. Their generation of music has no love music in it. right? Some of y'all remember the 90s R&B, right? Everything is about love and hugging and falling in love. This new generation doesn't have love music at all. That should speak to us about something. So let's get into this today. I'm going to jump in the chat. I got some few notes I'm going to talk to, but I want this to be a big discussion. I want to do more talking to you than I do teaching today. But I have some stuff that I want to teach, especially talking about the difference between marriage and marrying well. There is a difference between marriage and marrying well. A lot of people get married, but a lot of people don't marry well. So we'll talk about that today. But let me see who's in the chat. Have y'all questions ready, right? Have them ready already. And put them in the chat. We're going to talk today. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Relationship Friday. We are streaming from the Dear Brother and Dear Sister podcast. We're going to have a big morning discussion. Let's do it. Let me see who's in the chat. Good morning, Xavier. All right, good morning. Good morning, Philly. Good morning. Good morning, God bless you, my brother. Thank you for being here today. Yes, man, let's talk. We're going to help each other, bro. So what y'all think? Let me tell everybody in the room. Let's hit the chat. What do y'all think? What do you think? Do you think marriage has any benefit to it? Xavier, you're the reason. Now, I want y'all to know this. I don't want to get Xavier in no trouble. Xavier is one of the guys that come into the Dear Brother podcast. But Xavier, this is your fault, bro. Yesterday, you asked this question. And I promised you that this morning we were going to do the show based on the question you asked later and yesterday. And it's not a bad question. It's not a bad question at all. I believe in marriage, but I also understand the question that people are asking. I understand where the mindset comes from men to say, what's the benefit? Right? And again, it's not just men saying what's the benefit. That thing is creeping now where women are saying, well, what's the benefit? All right. So let's get into it. Good morning, Sonia. Good morning, my sister. I'm going to try to. Oh, man, I'm a best-selling author because of your work. I wrote a book and then you taught me how to push that book out to the masses. And yes, I'm a best-selling author. Home Where Hurt Men Heal became a best-selling book on Amazon. Thank you so much, Sonia. I appreciate you. Go get this book. It's on Amazon right now. The Soul of Sarah is also on Amazon right now. Let me do my commercials while y'all coming in. We're going to have a big discussion today. But the Soul of Sarah is on Amazon right now. Go get the Soul of Sarah book, ladies. It will strengthen you. I wrote this after I eulogized my mother to strengthen the heart of women. The value, and it's a man's perspective on speaking to the value of women. And dear brothers, I wrote this book for you. I wrote this book at one of the worst times in my life because I wanted to lift men up. So go get these books. They're on Amazon.com right now. And for some of you that are interested in the religious section and what's going on in the religious world, what's going on with the church, I wrote this book. I want you to go get it. 1441, I left church to serve God. I pastored for almost 30 years. And God gave me a revelation that we can do good things in the building. We can do more things outside of it. I left church to serve God. This is also on Amazon right now. Go to Amazon and go pick up these books. All right, let's get into it. Well, what y'all think? Is marriage still worth it? Is it worth doing? Y'all talk to me. Is it worth doing? Right? Do you still want to do it? How many people want to get married? How many people have been married? We can even talk about today, your marriage experiences. How many people have been divorced? We can talk about your experiences. Let's get into it. So number one, let's talk about this. Why marriage alone isn't a solution. I think that a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that marriage is a solution. Marriage is not a solution. Marriage is a decision and a covenant with a person. Marriage is not a solution. I got to get that in your mind. If you have a broken relationship, marriage won't fix you. If you're lonely, marriage won't fix that. You got to understand that marriage is what you're getting into is a covenant where it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost the other person something. Believe me, marriage will not fix things alone. It won't. Right. And I think in society now we glorify marriage. But we don't talk about compatibility. Let me see who's in the chat. Let me see. Okay, Sonia, it was ordained to be. You are walking in your car. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my sister. Yeah. So marriage. This again. That one of the pitfalls of marriage is that we glorify marriage. Right? We glorify it. That's why so many people get married so early. So many people get married so quickly. There's so many people that get married and they throw their lives into something they're not ready for really quickly because of the glorification of marriage. Everybody glorifies it as if it's just some event. Marriage is not the prom. Marriage is not just going on the prom. Marriage is not just some event. And I think we see that. I think when we think of marriage, we think of ceremony. We don't think of life, right? We think of ceremony. We don't think of life. We don't think of what that means to be married. Because the ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, I've done weddings. I've been married. The ceremony could be all of 20 minutes. The shortest wedding I've ever performed for somebody was 12 minutes. You understand? It don't take long to get married, right? It doesn't take long for the celebration, or it doesn't take long to do the covenant. But then marriage is a life, and I think we don't pay enough attention to that. We celebrate the moment, not thinking about the life that comes with it, not that comes after it. So let's get into it. What y'all thinking this morning? Talk to me. What y'all thinking this morning? Right. Another thing we do is we rush into marriage. A lot of people rush into marriage for all kinds of reasons. Right. I got married. I'm trying to get this into focus. Excuse me, everybody. I got married when I was 21. The reason I got married when I was 21 is because I had religious people telling me that in order to be who I was, or to walk in the calling I was walking in as a kid, I started traveling and preaching at 14, 15, 16 years old. By the time I was 21, it was like, oh, you got to get married. I didn't know what marriage was. I didn't even know who I was. See, that's the biggest thing. The biggest pitfall of marriage is that a lot of people get married having no clue who they are. See, again, my philosophy, and I will stand on this, I'll stand 10 toes on this forever, that I think that we don't have a marriage problem, we have a choosing problem. And we teach people how to be married, or we teach people how to not be divorced, but we miss the key moment. The key moment is teaching people how to choose. Most of you got messed up because you didn't know how to choose. You wanted to love, but you didn't know how to choose. And I'm going to tell you right now, choosing begins with who you are. Choosing doesn't begin with who they are. That's the mistake we make. That's the mistake we make. We think that we should choose based on who the person is. You do not choose based on the person. You choose based on you. Because when you choose to marry based on the person, then you get so involved in who they are and what they need and what they need to change, or how much in love you are with them. And what you miss is your character, how you are, what you accept, what you don't accept, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you need to change about you. The most dangerous thing you can do when you get married is to walk in blinded about you. I don't care what you know about the other person. If you walk in blinded about you, your marriage is going to fail. Let me see who's in the chat. Let's get it. Philly, let me see. I want to be married, but I don't want a wedding. Okay, I agree with that. Weddings are for people. That's the problem. Weddings, we had these weddings, and these weddings are for people. You pay for a whole bunch of people to be at your wedding that may not even like you. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with a wedding. But I see why people don't want to have a wedding. Good morning, Ron McGee, my man. Let me see. Asa Hall in the building. Good morning, my brother. Peace, bro. Marriage does have meaning. There are a few issues that taint the beauty of marriage. But it will take me forever to really tap in. We are broken, but both women and men are. We don't want to confront our own demons before we. Yes. Let me read the rest of it, because we don't want to confront our own demons before we set out to be married, but we put the responsibility of happiness on each other. Yes. And that is totally wrong. Our wives are not our mothers, and husbands are not our women's fathers. We put our past baggage on the backs of to carry, that is beginning, that's the beginning of the end. Absolutely. That's the issue. Listen, I'm gonna say this to you, and I'm gonna say this to ladies, especially this morning, because a lot of times men will know what's broken about us. A lot of you ladies I've heard ladies say things like this, and I think it's dangerous. He got to accept me for who I am. No, he doesn't. And for some of you brothers, hey, man, it is what it is. She got to take me for who I am. No, she doesn't. Right? No, she doesn't. It's nobody's responsibility to fix you. You got to know that. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how sad the story was. No one has the responsibility to fix you. And I believe I'm all into what Ace is saying right now. We bring an aspect or an attitude that somebody owes us something in a relationship. No one owes you anything in a relationship. They don't, right? Well, between you guys, yes. But in a relationship, nobody owes you to fix the part that somebody else broke. They don't. And this is where we get stuff like, oh, that's how guys are, or that's how women. No, no, no. No, no. Nobody owes you to fix you. Nobody's responsible for that. And you got to realize that. Because no relationship will work out for you if you walking in to get fixed. Nobody wants a Build-A-Bear. Not a man nor a woman. Nobody wants somebody that got to build. But a lot of times we settle for people that we got to build. Both men and women. Let me see. We're discussing today, what are the benefits of marriage? Some people say they don't think there's any benefits at all. Let me see. I really don't think most men should entertain the idea of marriage until they're in their 40s. I would have been a terrible husband before 40. I had to go through some things to figure me out first. Okay, let's talk further. I agree. I kind of agree that men should get married later. I do agree with that. I do agree that men should get married much later, and not just for the chase of women. I do think there is a certain thing that men must go through that will break parts of him, that breaks parts of him. Now, somebody saying, well, Christian, why I got to be broken? You better damn well know you got to be broken before you go into marriage, bro. You know what got to be broken in us men before we go into marriage? Ego. Ego. Man's ego has to be broken before he goes into marriage. You can't go into marriage with ego because you become a domineering prick to your wife. You will become a domineering prick to your whole household, especially men who never had authority in life. And now this is your first time having authority over somebody. You will turn out to be a stone cold idiot. Every man must be broken in his ego before he gets married, because you're not there to dominate that woman. You're there to take care of that woman. And a lot of men don't know the difference between taking care of and dominating. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference. Let me see. Xavier, let me talk to you, brother. Let me see what you're saying, Zay. I can see myself in a long-term relationship, but I don't necessarily see myself being married, I lack the knowledge on what marriage is. That's brave to say. Smart guy, yes. And that's why I asked the question, Okay, we're going to get into that today. We're going to get into what marriage is. We're going to get into what marriage means. I believe in marriage. I do. But this is the thing. The question is, what are the benefits of marriage? I'm going to make a crazy statement right here. There is no benefits to marriage. There's only benefit in who you marry. There's no benefits in marriage itself. None. This is where people go wrong. We study what marriage is. We don't study who the person is. Let me tell you something, Zay. Don't study the concept of marriage. Study the person you're marrying, because marriage has no benefit. Only the person that you're marrying to offers the benefit. A lot of people just get married. There's no benefit in just getting married. There's no benefit. Do you understand what marriage is? Let me tell you what marriage is. Marriage is death. Marriage is death. Christian, oh my God, I'll never get married. Yeah, you will. Marriage is death of your ego. Marriage is death of who you think you are. Marriage is death of you thought you were so ready. Marriage is the only relationship that can take you to the highest heights of heaven or the lowest parts of hell, because it's the way to sanctify you. All of a sudden, you're standing in front of a mirror. See, as a single person, even as a dating person, you don't have to take on what somebody's saying. They're not your constant mirror. When you get married, your husband and your wife is your constant mirror, and they're going to show you what parts of you need to die. Marriage is death. That's why a lot of times when I go do a wedding somewhere, I'll walk in the room, I'll shake the man's hand and say, you ready to die today? Huh? There's not a sad concept. When you understand marriage, you understand that the way you've walked out your single life, if marriage is going to be a promised land, you must circumcise the parts of yourself that you needed to be single. There are parts of you, right? There's some edges of you that needed to be the way you were walking through single life. But you can't go into the promised land the same way you walk through the valleys and the shadows of death. You can't. You got to lose something to get in marriage. And that's what we don't teach about marriage. You got to lose something to get married. You think you gaining a person. Yeah, it's fine to gain a person, but you got to lose yourself. Because what's the point of carrying around the stink of your negativity, the stink of how your bad, evil thinking, the stink of what's the point of dragging that into marriage? It's like dragging a dead body with you into a relationship. It stinks. You got to die before you get married. So is there a benefit to marriage? No. Is there a benefit to who you marry? Yes. Let me see. Marriage reveals who you are, not the other person. Absolutely. That shows how selfish we are walking into it. Absolutely. See, we don't come in with a giving mind. We come in with a taking mind. See, most people, we walk into a marriage unhealed, right? You got the best dress on, but you're unhealed. That homeboy, your suit is tailored. I'm talking about tailored down to, it seems like somebody painted on you. But if you're broken inside, and that's what you have a lot of times on a lot of marriages, and I've done a lot of weddings, I perform a lot of marriage. Sometimes there are two people up there that look fabulous on the outside, but they're two broken pieces of glass trying to get married. And it's easy to say I do. It's hard to say I'll stay. Oh my God, that's gonna be a short. Let me see. I agree with knowing who you are. I went into marriage broken from childhood sexual abuse, and chose men who also abused me. See, that's what happens when you don't choose you. You choose people that don't choose you either. Let me say it again. When you choose you, you don't choose people. You choose people that don't choose you either. All right, I'm gonna spend some time on that today. I went into marriage from childhood sexual abuse. My foundation was broken. Most of us are. Most of us are. Our foundation is broken. My foundation was broken, but now that I'm healed, I see myself as God sees me. I'm prospering spiritually in all things. See? It's knowing you. It's having a grasp on who you are. And most people don't have a grasp on who they are. We have a grasp on what we want, but we don't have a grasp on who we are. And right. And sometimes we think, this is the thing, a lot of times we think we're worth more than we are. Y'all want to have a real conversation today or a fake one? A lot of us think we're absolutely awesome, and it was anything that happened before, it was the fault of your ex. That is one of the most dangerous philosophies you can carry. There's no way in the world that every relationship you had failed and it was your ex's fault. You walk around with that mentality, you'll never have a happy relationship, because you're walking around as if you're a god that somebody has to meet your needs. It never works. But I'm gonna get back to that. But I also want to get back to Xavier. Marriage is death. Marriage is losing the sides of you that you thought were awesome. Listen, again, there were sides of you that you needed in your singleness that won't work in marriage. It's a sacrifice. Marriage is sacrifice. This is why you got to marry a certain person. You got to marry the person that you're willing to keep sacrificing for. Not in the moment. Got to understand this. Marriage has nothing to do with momentary feelings. No. It's a journey, and you got to be willing to go into that journey. All right. And so here it is. Let's talk about this. Why generation struggle? Why does this generation struggle with the concept of marriage? But the new kids don't believe in marriage. That's why the government is getting so scared, because people aren't making families anymore. Listen, we can really talk today, because there's a whole generation of people that don't believe in marriage and don't believe in having children. That's why the government is so up in arms right now. They're afraid. They're afraid that people aren't getting married anymore. And I'm telling you right now, people aren't. People don't believe in the concept. But that's what I'm saying. Marriage itself has no benefits, but the person you marry has the benefits. It's about who you choose. So the question is, who are you choosing? Right? And how are you choosing? Anybody in here have a bad relationship? How'd you get into it? Let's talk about it. I also believe there's cultural shifts, right? The cultural shift. There's cultural shifts now. Back in the day, people got married. Look, I need you in my life, right? And whether it was for love, whether it was for finances, people still were able to admit that they had a need. This new generation of people, we have such an independence now. Everybody's independent. Everybody's independent. Everybody don't need nobody. I don't need nobody. See, the new age thinking is I don't need anybody, so everybody's independent. That's why people aren't getting married. That's why people don't see the value in marriage now as well. Because of the move of independence. The fear of commitment, right? Come on, think about it. Let's get away from relationship for a second. This new generation doesn't even stay at a job for a certain amount of time, right? Back in the day when my parents were working, your parents were working, they would go somewhere and give 20, 30 years somewhere. That's not happening. Nobody's giving 20, 30 years as a career anymore. And if people aren't committing to career, people aren't committing to where they want to live. That's why people aren't buying houses and things like that anymore. Why do you think the government is trying to throw money into building houses and all that? Because people aren't buying houses anymore. People rather live light, but they live so light that they don't see a need for a relationship. So if people aren't staying in jobs and they're moving all around the country, what makes you think they'll commit to a relationship? You see, this generation doesn't see the benefit. They don't see the benefit, right? And then another thing is social media. And social media has had a big impact on relationships, on the value of relationships, right? It's insane. It's insane. Like, why do it? That's what men are asking. Why do it? So let's get into it. Y'all talk to me. Talk to me about your experiences. Talk to me about whether some of you who maybe have been through divorce. Let's talk. Let's talk today. Let's get into it on Relationship Friday. My guy, Hayward Hamilton. Many rush to get married for sex. As if you can't have that single. Yeah. See what I'm saying? Please, let's talk about that. That's a brilliant point, Hayward. Because this is the thing, especially in religious systems, right? We have talked so bad about sex in religious systems, right? That now you have people that don't love each other that's just trying to cover a sexual relationship. That's still happening. I grew up in church. That's why I've seen couples get married at 18, 19 years old. I've seen couples where the girl is pregnant, but she's not showing enough, right? Where nobody will know it, right? Even before that, back in the day, you remember the concept of a shotgun wedding. A young girl got pregnant. Her father, her uncles would make that man marry her. In religious systems, I'm going to tell you right now, religious system, for me, I didn't get married at 21 about sex. I got married at 21 because I had a growing ministry. It was moving fast, and all my religious leaders told me, you need to get married. And this was their reason, because you want to be legitimate. As if I couldn't be legitimate, not married. So what did I do? At 21, I chose a fabulous person to marry, that neither one of us needed to be married because neither one of us knew each other, right? She's a fabulous person. To this day, I have nothing bad to say about the woman I married when I was 21. Right? I was blessed. We had 4 beautiful children together. You see what I'm saying? But we didn't choose each other based on each other. We chose each other based on religious systems. And that's a terrible thing. And you know what? You know what, Hayward? I blame leadership for that. I blame a lot of pastors and leaders and parents for pushing generations of people to get married. They, just like Xavier, they didn't even know what marriage was. They didn't know who they were. They got pushed into a system so that everybody else will say they're okay. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the most dangerous things you can do is get married for people, because the people you get married for don't have to live in the house where you are married. They don't. Let me see. We forgot that our kids are watching us. And they see the disaster in divorce. Yes, we don't have to make divorce ugly. It's a choice. We don't have to make divorce ugly. But let me tell you something. Even if divorce is not ugly, it still has impact on your children. And as a man, I'm going to be honest, I still deal with that. I still deal with the fact that I went through a divorce, and because I'm the type of guy who wants to be there every day for my kids, right? Every day, I want to hear every joke. I want to play every game. With me divorcing, I sacrifice that. And that's not easy for me mentally. I want to talk to some of you men out there that you're no longer in love. You no longer have a connection with the person that you're divorced from, but but in your mind, as a real dad, as a real man, as a real father, something in you will never be okay with not being with your children full time. I'm gonna tell you, as a man. Now, some of you might be okay with it, right? I have to accept it, but it's hard for me to say, okay, I'm with my kids 3 or 4 days a week, right? I want to be with them every day. You see what I'm saying? So after a while, some of you divorced people, you got to heal in your mind. You got to heal in your mind so you don't walk around with the guilt of divorce. I mean, we could talk today. I mean, I got a meeting at 10 o'clock, but we got time today. You hear what I'm saying? We can really get into this thing. Yes, because again, divorce affects our children. And just because they're smiling and happy, I'm not saying it makes them depressed. I'm not saying it breaks them. But don't think, no matter how good the relationship is between you and your ex, that your children didn't feel the blow of that separation. Let me see. In addition, Hayward, in addition, there is no such thing as the one. There are just those who appeal to our attractions and commit unearths true intent. Commitment unearths true intent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe I agree. There's no such thing as the one. There's such thing as a good choice. There's such thing as a good choice. Absolutely. And I'm going to say what I said earlier. I don't care who it stirs up. When it comes down to what are the benefits of marriage, there are no benefits of marriage. There's only benefit in who you marry. Great point, Hayward. Great point. There's no such thing as the one. You know what? You're the one. That's what people got to realize. Ooh. See, that's why I like to have you on here. Good point. No such thing as the one. You're the one. See, if once you realize you're the one, then you can find the one. A lot of you don't realize you're the one. You don't appreciate yourself. A lot of people get married for validation because they never felt valued. A lot of people get married under the threat of rejection. And if what I'm saying is not true, now I know someone would probably email me, going to challenge me. What I'm saying is not true. If what I'm saying is not true, why are 60% of marriages failing? Because what I'm saying is true. It's absolutely true. People marry marriage. They don't marry a person. We're going to get into that later on. A lot of you ladies on the Dear Sister podcast, I'm going to challenge you. A lot of ladies want to get married. They want to marry marriage. They don't marry the man. They marry marriage. And then when they realize, wait a minute, I didn't marry marriage. I married a man. It's like, oh my God. Because you were more interested in studying what marriage was than who the man was that you were marrying. Let me see. That makes sense then. That this generation isn't getting married. Most people don't present themselves as a benefit. Hence, everything we see being so divisive. This generation can detach easily. Absolutely. Because you know why? No one taught this generation how to attach. This is a selfish generation. Right? But I'm going to tell you, we can't talk about them. We got to talk about our generation. Because our generation is the one that came up with self-care. Now, I believe in self-care, but I've always been confounded that our generation are the generation that came up with self-care, but we're also the generation that ushered in the most selfishness. Ain't that something? We are I'm talking about us. I'm 44. I don't know how old y'all are, but I'm talking about us. We're the generation that talked about self-care more than any other generation, but we were also the most selfish generation at the same time. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yes, this generation detaches because nobody taught them how to attach. You got to remember, this generation barely had their families. A lot of this generation didn't have their families. These kids now, a lot of them didn't have no parent structure. A lot of them, even back in the day, when some of us were growing up, you still had grandma. This generation, their grandma might be walking up and down the street selling weed. You understand? See, it's a difference. The family structure is different, which also changes the concept of the value of marriage. See, I saw my parents were married for 30 years, for 32 years, right? They got married and they stayed together. Did they have the happiest marriage all the time? I don't know. But what I do know is that they stayed, they were married, they took care of each other, they took care of us for 32 years. I saw that. There's a whole generation that never saw any generation, that never saw couples. They never saw couples. They're getting all their relationship advice from reality shows. Right? They're getting all their relationship and intimate advice from pornography. Do y'all see what I'm saying? We got some talking to do. Let me see. This generation also needs constant stimulation. Yes, yes, yes. They think relationship is supposed to be exciting and popping and all these words, and don't have the mental fortitude to fight through things, that don't feel good. And guess what? Real relationship don't feel good all the time because it's the death of you. They will check out quickly. School, yes. Job, relationship, absolutely. Because we live in a feely generation. As long as I feel good, make me feel good, make me feel good. When they have no idea, like I was telling Zeri earlier, marriage is the loss of yourself. It's the loss of the parts of you thought were awesome in order to join in and make something better with another person. Let me see. Explaining the Bible, 1 Corinthians 7:9. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Okay. I love this scripture because a lot of people have ruined their life on this scripture right here. Thousands, Sonia. Thousands of people have ruined their life on this scripture right here. Let's read it again. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Okay. The problem with our understanding of this scripture is this. Let's make this a couple. This couple right here, they may be together, committed to each other, and they're trying to hold out for whatever reason. No, for them, it is better to marry. It is better for them to marry. So say if we're going to get married a year or two from now, we're burning with passion, we're together, we're really committed, then yes, they should marry. This is the problem. We don't talk about this scripture in context of a couple that should be together instead of burning with passion, trying to not. We don't realize that this scripture is for a healthy couple. This scripture is not for two people that just can't stop screwing each other. So we use this scripture to then give it to people and say, hey, y'all can't stop screwing. This is what this Bible says. Go get married. That is the worst thing we could do to a couple. See, anytime you have a couple, you have to assess that couple to see where they are. This scripture right here, we've used as a hall pass to give to people that don't even love each other. Because I'm going to tell you, you can have that great hot passion for the day. But you know what the most scariest thing in the world? When you wake up 2 weeks later and you're not hot for that person no more. That's what we should be teaching. Are you even hot for the person mentally, socially, emotionally? Then go ahead. That's what burns passion. But some people don't have passion, Sonia. Some people are just screwing. And we can't give them that hall pass as a scripture for them to get married. Let me see. Bro, listen, many don't speak on blended families. That alone can make or break a marriage. Yes, it can. There's not enough teaching on that. It's not. It's not enough teaching on it. And that's a teaching that we need to do. Look, we can deal with it today. We could deal with it today as well. But I would like to do a podcast just for men on the blended family. But I'm gonna throw something else in here for you, Ace. When we Ooh. Okay. Let's get into the blended family conversation since we on it. What's being taught on the internet now, and it's been taken by the thousands as a philosophy, is being taught to men that the worst thing they can do is get with a woman that has a child. I'm talking about men are flat out rejecting women that have a child, period. So we can have two discussions on this, Ace. We can have the discussion of the person who's saying, look, I can't handle a family. And we also have to have discussion on the fact that a lot of men won't even broach the subject because they're being taught that it's almost the worst thing in the world to do. Right. Rest in peace. Kevin Samuels used to teach that a lot. He used to teach a lot that it was no benefit to be a stepfather. And he had philosophy behind it. His philosophy behind it, well, what's the benefit of being a stepfather? His philosophy, it was, what's the point of going into a relationship? Now you taking care of kids that aren't yours. You won't ever be honored for it. right? The kids are probably going to disrespect you, right? And the expectation will be on you to take care of kids that's not your own. What's the benefit of that? That's what Campbell Samuels would talk about, right? Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I'm a father. I'm a dad. I love being a dad. So right now I'm dating a woman with children, right? But I'm a dad. I can handle it. I'm not scared of that. That doesn't she's not a turnoff because she has kids. You understand? But I'm a man. I think that too, and I'm not saying that men who don't want to get with a woman are less than a man. It's just not what they choose to do. But the blended family, yes, we got to talk about men who don't even believe in the blended family. A lot of sisters will be single a long time as long as this philosophy is being pushed that the single mother is a curse, right? And men, we got to have that conversation. We have to have that conversation, right? And women, y'all got to respect the fact when a man says he doesn't want to do it. That's his preference. That's his preference. It's not that something's wrong with you. It's his preference not to do it. It doesn't make him less than a man. You understand? Right? The blended family, again, that has to be a whole nother podcast, man, because there's a lot that goes into the blended family. But I want to have some discussion about it today. Let me ask y'all in the chat, what are some of the benefits, but what are some of the hardest parts about having a blended family? Let's talk about it. It's definitely not enough support for men after divorce. No, but I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you something, Philly. There's not enough support for men after divorce, but let me tell you something. A lot of men act like they don't care after they're divorced. Right? A lot of men act like they don't care after they're divorced. So where help is available, this is why I have the Dear Brother podcast, because I'm trying to get men in touch with their feelings. A lot of brothers aren't even in touch with their feelings enough to admit that the divorce even mattered to them. You see what I'm saying? But I'm going to tell you, it does. What you see is you see a lot of men go on and they're having the wildest life. They're acting like teenagers again after they get divorced. That's a sign that a man is hurt. Let me see. Let me see. Still burn with passion, married. Absolutely. See that? See what I'm saying, Hayward? Burn with passion. Still burn with passion, married. You see? That's the issue. You don't see this is an issue. It's an issue. Everybody thinks love is enough. Love is enough. Not enough. You better like the person. You better like the person. This is what I'm saying. That's why I tell y'all, marriage has no benefits. The person you marry has the benefits. And if you marry a person that brings no benefit, why did you marry him? Most people got married under the pressure of society. Let me see. Sonia, okay. I divorced on the grounds of physical abuse, and abandonment. But I did it peacefully, My children were affected, but I spoke life that we both still loved them, And I left the door open for relationship. He kept coming to my family's functions. Let me read it over here. Still loved them. The door, okay. He kept coming to my family's functions until he suddenly died 9 years ago. Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that. I never dealt with the pain until his death. Those emotions surfaced. So I had to deal with covered up hurt. People deal with it and confront your issues so you can be whole and heal. Yes. Good advice, Sonia. Confront your issues. This is the trouble in marriage. We don't confront our issues. We want somebody else to heal our issues, and it never works that way. It never works that way. Let me see. Being rejected by kids because they're hurt from the separation of their parents. Yes, Lauren. Yes, right? We can't make that. And see, this is another thing. And I think, and I'm going to say this to you ladies. A lot of you ladies do that to your kids because you love a man. It doesn't mean your kids have to love him. Respect and love is two different things. And a lot of times how you accepted a man, it takes more time for your kids to do that. And you got to let your kids transition through that. Right? Don't make your kids walk on your love bridge. Your love bridge that you created with this man is completely different than their relationship. So that's a brilliant point, Lauren. Thank you for bringing it up. Being rejected by kids because they're hurt from the separation of their parents. Yes. And you can't make the kids enemies. Right? Nor can you make the partner an enemy. Because understand this. See, I don't think we really look through this stuff. We fall in love with a person that's like, okay, I'm going to bring them in and everything's going to be great. No. I don't think we sometimes we get selfish in blending families. I love them, so y'all get on in here. No, these are human beings that need to kind of meld together. You got to respect those moments, or you'll tear up your own family trying to force something that you went and created. Y'all got to be careful with this when you go get with a person who has children, right? You got to be careful in that the way you walk that out. You got to walk that out with grace. And you got to walk that out. Give yourself grace. You got to give your children grace. You got to give your partner grace. I think sometimes, especially after we've come in and we've been broken other places, we want to come into a new relationship and everything just work out perfectly. No, you can't. You cannot paint a perfect image for the new relationship. No, you got to let it transition so it can become beautiful. Nothing's ever beautiful in the beginning. Let me see. Such a good point. Thank you for sharing that, Lauren. Stephanie Hodges, I find that the blended family is tough because I feel like the other parents often taint their children's minds, and the children can be very oppositional. Absolutely. Absolutely. But so, yeah, okay. I'm gonna read that again. I find that blended family is tough because I feel like the other parent often taints the children's mind, and the kids can be very oppositional. Yes, I'm gonna tell you whose duty that is, and it's rough. This is rough. This is rough. I'm gonna talk to you single moms and single dads. When you go into a relationship with another person, there is no onus on the kids, even if you have a jerk parent who's turning the kids into like against this person. What you have to be is a steady-minded human that understands all these dynamics. I'm telling you. We talk about blended families. This is what it requires. See, we got to talk about what we're required to do. You can't go in thinking you're not required to do anything. If you're the guy coming into a single mom, or you're the girl or you're the lady coming in with a single father that has children, it is on you. It is on you to walk out with grace and patience. Because I'm going to tell you, even though this parent might be giving opposition or turning the kid, you stay there and be consistent. You keep on showing up with them same popsicles. You keep on showing up saying, hey, how was your day after school? You keep on saying, hey, how you doing? You had a good day? Even if they ain't talking to you, you stay consistent with how you love them. It won't matter what the other parent's doing to them. Because kids recognize love. Kids also recognize BS. Trust me. Trust me. Some things I say come by wisdom. Some things I say come by wisdom and experience. You have to just be patient. Keep on being consistent with your care. Keep on doing. I'm telling you, it turns the kid. It's not a hard philosophy. It's consistency. Let me see. Let me go back though. See, because some people aren't willing to be consistent. You got to know that too. You got to know. Listen. Me and my lady talked about this before, and it's a very strong topic. When you have children and you come into a relationship and you're trying to blend a family, you got to know whether that person is just going to caretake for your kids or be a parent to your kids. There is a difference. There are some people in your life that will respect your kid, provide for your kid, make sure your kid has everything your kid would ever need, but they are not in a position to want to be a parent to your kid. They'll be a provider. They'll cut some jokes, but to see that some people don't want to do that with your children. They don't. They won't be mean. They'll always be kind, but you'll never see them actually jump into a parental role. You got to understand that. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But I want to throw that out there because there are some very good people that will take care of you and your children, but they've parented their kids. They're done with parenting. You got to know that, y'all. We can talk. We can get into it more. Let me see. Nothing wrong with the blended family. It gets tricky if that relationship doesn't work out. I regret not being more present for my bonus daughter after my ex and I. It isn't fair to them. Well, this is the thing. This is the thing, y'all. You can't go into a blended family concept blind. And I'm going to tell you, whether you like it or not, when you lose that person, you lose the relationship with the child. Now, I know, I'm going to get some emails or some comments, but the fact, you can't go in having everything. It's like you breaking up with somebody, but you leaving a few clothes at their house. Every now and then, I got them come over get. No. If the breakup is the breakup, then the breakup is the breakup. This whole thing of, okay, we broke up, but I'm still have a relationship with your kids. That's not a real concept. That's not a real concept. Y'all know I'm a shoot straighter. I'm a shoot straighter. I'm a straight shooter. I might be a shoot straighter too. But there's no such thing as that. It never works out that way. It never works out that way. You're creating a mess for yourself. That's why you can't go in eyes wide shut. You got to realize if this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out for everybody. There's no such thing as holding on to a child that you're no longer connected to the parent. See, this is what we love to be emotional and say, oh, well, I'll still keep. No, it's nothing emotional about it. It's a decision. You decided to get with a person with a kid. That's their person's kid. And if y'all break up, guess what? You broke up with everybody. And can that be some emotional struggle? Yes. But trying to balance keeping a relationship with a kid when you're not with the parent, it's ridiculous. And feelings don't matter. Some things are just facts. Let me see. Replying to Lauren, that affected my friend who was grown when his parents separated. Yeah. Let me see. The way a woman raises her children before you and vice versa clashes. No one wants to bend to what happened prior in raising the children, to make that marriage work. I used to tell my ex-wife that one day your children will be grown with their own families, and they will leave you. When they weren't grown, when they were grown, that's exactly what happened. And she looked at me like, hey, baby, oh, hell no, you ignored me for years. And now we are broken. It gets bitter and cold, bro, when you're fighting a losing battle. Let's go through that again because there's a lot of meat in there. The way a woman raises her kids before you and vice versa clashes. See, this is another thing too. All right, let me shoot straight. Why are we getting intimate, building relationship, staying at each other's homes, discussing our future, discussing what dates we want to go on, discussing where we want to travel to, discussing all kinds of things. We discuss what positions we want to have on a sexual relationship, but we never discuss how we agree or disagree on disciplining our children. See, it's our fault, y'all. Stop the madness. Think about it. A lot of us jump in here and you talk to each other about everything else. Oh, with high school I went through and I played high school ball, my first girlfriend and my first job. Y'all talked about everything but disciplining your children. And then you wonder why the relationship breaks up later on. See, we don't talk about what matters. When you come into a relationship, a lot of times people only discuss what feels good. We discuss what feels good, but we don't discuss the truth of what will keep this relationship or not keep this relationship. That's why we run into these problems. And then we say, oh, it's blended family problems. No, it ain't. We don't have blended family problems. We have a couple communication problem. Now we talking. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. There you go. We don't have a blended family problem. We have a couple communication problem. Let me see. No, it's okay. It's okay, sis. Yeah, but that's what we have, y'all. Couples aren't communicating. We communicate again about what feels good. We don't communicate about the pillars of our relationship. And if you're having a blended family, the pillars of your relationship are the one of the greatest pillars in that relationship are the children. Why aren't we talking about them? Again, we're not talking about them because we're too involved in us falling in love than this system working together. Yeah. Right? Okay. So this is the thing. I talked about this and I want to talk about it again. We get into keeping marriages, fighting for marriages, going to therapy and all these things. A lot of women say, I wanted to get therapy, but my man don't want to go. I understand, I understand why he should go. I understand why some men don't want to go. A lot of men don't want to go to counseling because of fear of exposure. Men don't want to be vulnerable. So why in the world would I want to go to a place that's going to make me vulnerable? I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying that's what happens. But this is the question. We wouldn't have to fight for these marriages. We wouldn't have to try to get people to go to counseling. We wouldn't have to do any of that if we start choosing better. Right? A lot of us we're choosing based on what? We're choosing based on need. A lot of people choosing based on finances. A lot of people choosing based on loneliness. A lot of people choosing based on horniness. A lot of us choosing based on image. And if you're choosing based on those 5 things or any other foolish things, then guess what? You'll never have a happy, healed relationship. Why? Because you chose based on the wrong agenda. A lot of you religious people, you choose based on who your church wants to see you with, or who looks good with your gifting, and who looks most anointed, and all this crap. Oh, he disrespectful. He calling it is crap. It is crap because you don't live your marriage in that church, or maybe some of you do. It must be something else to come to church and praise together, then go home and not talk to each other. Yee, that must be something else. That must be terrible. It must be terrible to walk in and say, praise the Lord. Hey, praise the Lord, everybody. And we are blessed and highly favored. But we take 2 different cars home and stay in 2 different rooms when we get there. That's crap because we're not teaching people how to choose. You can't choose the person that looks good to you. You got to choose the person that is good to you. Is the question on the table is what are the benefits of marriage? And we're also talking about the blended family today, right? But we're not choosing. We need to start choosing based on shared goals. What are your goals? What are our goals? What do we want to accomplish together? I like what Asa said earlier. You're raising your kids to leave. The question is, what do you have together that counts? If all you got is a relationship with the kids, that relationship is doomed to failure. I watched my father and my mother go through this. I remember my father said one time, he said, man, me and your mom was the cat's meow. Everybody knew Thomas and Sandra. You know what I mean? We was the couple. And he said, to be honest, Chris, he said, when y'all came around, it seemed like your mom just forgot about me. Seemed like she just forgot about me. He said, I understood that she had to take care of y'all and we had to take care of y'all and everything, but it was us that had to take care of y'all. It seemed like she just chose to take care of y'all and just ignore me. He said, my problem is, Chris, he said, we was raising y'all to leave. And I've seen a lot of couples. I've counseled couples do the same thing. You raise your children to focus your children, and your children are with you for 18 years until they go to school, until they move out or wherever they go, how many years they're in their house. But you're raising those kids to leave. The problem is when you take all your time, energy, finance, hope, help, and faith, and you put it all in raising those children, what happens when those children leave? You look up and realize, I don't even know my partner for the last 18 years. I haven't known my partner. Haven't got to know them. And realize this too, 18 years, people change. So the person you got with may be a totally different person 10 years, 12 years, 15, 18 years later. And if you haven't been you focus more on the transition of your children than you did of your spouse. And then you wonder why that marriage breaks up because you ignored your spouse for your children. You didn't marry your children. You married your spouse. You're raising your children. You're not raising your spouse. Let me see who's in the chat. Choosing better. Yes, choosing better. Right? Are we choosing based on goals? What's our goal? What's our goal? To just be married? That's our goal? That's our goal? Is our goal just to lock somebody in? That's our goal? No. What are we doing? What can we accomplish together? What can we accomplish together? What can we... And I ain't talking about this power couple trash. Power couple, that's trash. That's a trash concept. Hey. The power couple is a trash concept. It's stupid. Cut it out. There's no such thing as the power couple. Right? Hey, let me tell y'all this. There's no such thing as couples goals either. Relationship goals. You don't know what's going on in that relationship. Cut it out. Okay. I said my piece. I'm off of my soapbox. All right. What are we doing together? What's our goal? What can we complete? What can we do? If you're with somebody you can't do anything with, why are you with them? Why are you with them? You can't do anything with them. Why are you with them? And I'm not talking about buying a home, these type of accomplishments. I'm not talking about these temporal accomplishments. I'm talking about soulishly. What are we creating together? Are we creating a peaceful environment together? Are we accomplishing great things together? Are you my number one fan? These are the basis upon which you build a relationship, right? Mutual respect, communication. I don't care how much you love somebody. If you can't have healthy communication with them, what are you doing? We don't choose properly, y'all. We choose based on how they make us feel. They won't always make you feel that way. Oh, it's Relationship Friday. Let's get into it. Let me get back in the chat. Let me see. L Boog is in the building. Easy to blend when it was good. When it's not the kids. When it easy to blend when it was good. When it's not the kids hurt. Failed ship and blended family is why I don't want to really date until my daughter is older. She can't afford another temporal attachment. See, but this is the thing. This is the thing, y'all. Risk. It's a risk. It's a risk. Then this is why I talk about choosing, though. See, this is why. See, this is the thing. This is the thing, L Boog. I think you would be wronging yourself by waiting until your daughter gets older. I think you would. I think you will be wronging yourself. I think, again, we have to take responsibility for choosing. We do. We have to take responsibility for choosing. If you have a daughter, you have a son, right? And you're a single dad, single mom, and you have a kid, you shouldn't just be choosing a boyfriend. You should be choosing a father. If you're a single dad, you should be looking for more than a girlfriend. You should be looking for a mother. You see, as a single person, you got to know what you're looking for in that person. And this is the problem. Again, when we get with people, we don't think about the family, right? We don't think about the family. We think about us. We get too emotional and we think about us. Is this person a father when you get with them? Is this person a mother when you get with them? I remember when I was single and dating, I met a very nice woman. Very nice woman. And you know what she said one day? We were talking about my youngest child. My oldest kid don't need to be raised. They old. Talking about our youngest child. And she made the statement. She said, yeah, you having a little kid, that would be okay. And immediately it was over. Right? She was smart. She was sharp. I mean, awesome woman. But her response to me having a 7-year-old was, yeah, that'll be okay. I knew it was over right at that point. Why? Because as a single dad, I knew that I would have to have a mother. I couldn't bring my youngest daughter into a situation where there was a woman that wasn't really interested in her presence. So yes, was she great? Was she fun? Yes. Could she be with me? Absolutely not. Because she had such a shaky response to me having a child. We got to take responsibility for that. It's always a risk. It's a risk until you really get into it and say, okay, is this person a parent or not? Let me see. Xavier in the building. What are your thoughts on entering a relationship without being fully healed? I'm constantly working on myself and will continue to do so even if I enter a new relationship. The whole concept of being totally healed when you get in a relationship is not really a real concept. It's not. Now I'm not talking. We can get over the shallow speak. The shallow speak is okay. Everybody's gonna come in the relationship with some type of issues, right? Right. But at the same time, when it comes down to being fully healed, you don't know you're fully healed until you get into a relationship, right? It's like a person is saying, "Look, I used to be addicted to such and such, but I'm not addicted no more." Well, you won't really know that until you get in the presence of that thing. You see? So when you get into a relationship's reveal, right? And so it's not about being perfectly healed when you go into a relationship. A lot of times it's about communicating what you're not healed in with the new person. See, a lot of times we don't do that, right? Now, again, should you come into a relationship a complete wreck? No. But when you come into a relationship and there's things you're working on, be willing to say to the person, hey, I'm still working on this, right? This right here damaged me. I'm working on this. Because then you're not coming into a relationship with a person and you're making that person think it's their fault how you are. That's how you really begin to have a healed, healthy relationship, is that you communicate what you're still working on. And you don't find yourself trying to blame the other person, or it's your fault I'm like this. You've been like this for 30 years. It has nothing to do with the person. So you're not looking to be perfectly healed. The parts of you still working on, communicate them. Let me see. Good morning, Charlotte. Good morning, my dear sister. Living to produce healthy relationship in every arena. Sometimes we have to reframe our mindsets. Yes, yes, yes. We have to go from a hero mentality in relationship. We have to go from a hero mentality. We gotta go from trying to save people, right? There's a lot of negative approach we have to relationship. I totally agree. Great point, Charlotte. Change your mind about it, right? Because some of you you've changed your mind in a negative way because of what you've experienced, right? Every person you meet is a new experience, and you got to go that way. It's a new person, and guess what? You wouldn't want anybody to treat you like your old self either, right? So yes, a healthy relationship in every arena. Yes, sometimes you have to reframe your mindset. Yes, absolutely. Some of us bring us such a negative thought to relationship, right? I'm in it for what I can get. I'm in it for revenge or whatever you're in. You got to change your mind. Absolutely. Great point. Great point, Charlotte. Let me see. Stephanie Hodges, thank you for a good word. Got to run. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Oh man, I ain't been a pastor, so I felt good. Maybe I am. I'm a pastor to the world now. There you go. Go ahead, sister. Have a great day. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let me see. Some people fear losing the connection with their spouse, and they neglect forming relationships with their children. They still have to. Now, see, Lauren, I think a lot of times, and again, I don't have the home run on this, but I think a lot of times this happens more in relationships, new relationships, where a person is a single parent and they, again, this is not saying it doesn't happen in relationship. Let me clear it up this way. Let me read it again. Some people fear losing the connection with their spouse and they neglect forming relationships with the children they still have. Okay. So if this is happening in a marriage where those people made those kids, one of those parents is a screwed up human being. Any parent that wants to suck the life out of the other spouse where she or he can't give any attention to the kids, that's a horrible situation, because if we made the kids together, it's our teamwork to be able to raise these kids together. So if you have a parents that made kids and one of those parents is fighting for so much attention that the kids don't matter, that's a bad marriage. A lot of times in a single situation, I think a lot of times this happens with single dads and single moms. You can get so happy that you have attention and that you're not by yourself anymore and that you're in love, that a lot of times people do begin to ignore their kids to keep this person happy, because you start feeling like my kids will be here. I got to keep this person here. If you're in a relationship where you got to perform to keep the person, you're not in a relationship. You're in a stage show. If you're in a relationship where you got to constantly perform to keep somebody happy, that is not a relationship. You're in a stage show. And the curtains will close after a while. Let me see. What can we complete is good. Yes. What can we complete? Absolutely. That's the question you got to ask. What can we do together? Let me see. L Boog in the building. Why does it seem women are more accepting of a man with kids than they are women? Because women are nurturers. Women are nurturers. Women are nurturers. Women are nurturers. So that just an innate thing that's already in a woman to nurture. And if you're taking care of that man, you want his kids good too. That's what it is. The men don't have a nurturing gene. Right? Can men nurture? Yes, but I'm talking about the gene to nurture. Most men have to develop nurture. Women are born with nurture. So that's why. But not all women. I just told you. I used to date somebody very, very, very nice person, but she didn't have she had raised her kids and she didn't have it in her to raise anybody else. So you see what I'm saying? But yes, it's the nature, it's the nurture. That's what it is. I'm always gonna be. Oh, there you go. That's me. Let me see. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Blended families. Yes. The blended family. The blended family. Yes. The blended families where people forget about their kids. They're so worried about keeping a person. Right? But let's get deeper. Lauren. There are some people who get with a negative, a terrible man or a woman, and you're so in love with that person, you don't even realize they're abusive to your children. Y'all want to talk? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, especially to talk about. I'm not afraid to talk about anything, but especially about this. How many situations? Excuse me, y'all. I got podcasts. I got meetings. I got to eat. All right. How many situations do here you got somebody abusing the kids in the house? The person's dating this person, and you are blinded by what you call love, and you don't even see what this person is doing to your children. That's a dangerous place for you to be. And I'm gonna challenge some of you mothers, especially. I'm gonna challenge some of you mothers, especially, that find yourself so in love with some man you don't even realize you have invited a creep into your house. Don't be so lonely that you let a creep in your house. I'm telling you, sisters. I'm telling you, I don't care. Look, I don't care. You've been coming home from work by yourself and laying in that bed by yourself for the last 2 years. Guess what? It's worth being by yourself for a third and fourth year than it is for you to get so lonely that you're not checking this man you brought in your house, and now he's abusive to your kids, doing all kinds of craziness. He's a creep, and you are blinded by love. Come on, sister. You got to value yourself enough to investigate this person, not how they make you feel, but who that man is. Y'all got to get over how y'all feel. Get over how you feel, sisters. When you choosing to let a man in your life, get over how you feel about him and do some real vetting. Do some real vetting. What kind of man am I letting in my house? Right? You brothers too. What kind of woman am I letting in my house? You know, brothers, there's some women that are coming in your house just as you're a single dad, or you have children. Some women will come into your house just to cause problems. She'll come in your life just to cause problems with your children's mother. You got to be careful, y'all, who you let in your life, because you have children. You can't afford that. Let me see. Some people know they just love the person too much to leave them. See, that's a whole nother ball game, because I'm going to tell y'all right now. Love can't be that blind. Love, I know it. You know what? I'm not going to say it can't be. But no, I'm not. Love can't be that. See, it's something else. We can't call it love. When you're ignoring your kids, it ain't because you love somebody else. It's because your esteem is gone. Your esteem is attached to that person. When you ignore your kids for another human being that you're dating, it's not love. You are a broken person, and that person has become the glue that mends you together. It's not love. It's not love. Let me see. Ron McGee, sometimes I don't think you choose wrong. It's good when it's good. Not all growth is linear, parallel, and separation happens. Sometimes I don't think you choose wrong. I think we do choose wrong, Ron. I disagree. I think we don't want to take responsibility for choosing wrong. This is the thing. It's pace. I talk about this on almost every, y'all know, some of y'all who've been with me since the beginning of Dear Brother. I talk about pace all the time. I got to respectfully disagree with that, Ron. I think we do choose wrong, because when you choose right, you can get through whatever it is that you got to get through. When you choose right, you choose the transition with a person. See, this is the problem. We're falling in love with a moment in time with a person, right? Especially when you spent time with a person. And see, you haven't built a relationship with that person enough to transition with them. That's where most relationships go awry. You fall in love with this person as if they're never going to get older. They're never going to have new philosophy. They're never going to change about anything. And that's why we hurt each other in relationship, because you're supposed to be the person you was when we met when I was 35. Well, we 42 now. You see what I'm saying? I do believe we choose wrong, because when you choose right, you transition with that person. You don't keep on getting off of trains to get on a new one. You stay on that train till you get where you got to go. I think we do choose wrong, because we're choosing a person we can't transition with. Let me see. Definitely worth it. That happened with a friend of mine. Not worth it. Absolutely. You see what I'm saying? A creep will come in your house and tear up your family because you was in love. You ain't in love, sister. You lonely. You almost made me knock my coffee over. Some look for the creep or physical abuse, but overlook the fact that their mate isn't a positive example to their child. Nor do they try to build any type of bond with your children. Yes, Lachey. Very good point. Very good point. So you got the creep that's about the abuse, right? And you got the person, but overlook the fact that their mate isn't a positive example. Again, we're not doing enough investigation. Again, you're looking for a father or you're looking for a mother. Understand this, when you got kids, stop dating like you don't have children. That's what it is. Stop dating like you don't have kids. Because when you have children, you're not just dating for you. Is this person a father? Not can they be, are they? Well, Christian, I don't know if they're a father. They don't have kids. Listen, I was a father before I had kids. I remember as a little boy, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a dad as a little boy. I couldn't wait to be a dad. Right? So some men have the dad gene, some men don't. Some women have the mom gene, some women don't. Absolutely. This is such a brilliant statement. Absolutely. Right? This person is not a good example to your child. They don't want to be. They aren't there to be an example. They're there to be with you. There's certain people that are there to be with you. And you got to do enough investigation to see that. Got to do enough investigation to see that. And you can't get mad. Ladies, let me say this to you. You can't get mad at a man who won't be a father to your children and he never showed you that type of gene. Every date y'all were on, he never talked about being a dad. Every date you were on, he never talked about being a father. Every time you talked about your children, he never was more interested in what they do or who they are. He never asked questions about your kids. He know they exist. Listen, baby girl, don't say you got blindsided. That man never showed interest in your kids at all. Who they are, what they do, what they like. He's not going to suddenly become a father when he comes to the house. He's not. Great point. Let me see. Because it ain't no amount of love. There you go. It ain't that much love. All right. So we got to recognize how to choose the right person, y'all. The right person. Listen. You want a good relationship? Be self-aware. Be self-aware. You know, the one thing I can't stand, a woman, I know how men are. Okay, you know you don't. You don't know how you are, right? Just like you brothers, I know how women are. No, you don't. You don't know how women are. You know how you are. Right? So you got to be careful. Y'all got to be more wise out here. All right? Last point I got, and then we can get into some discussion. Let me put this up right now. This is Relationship Friday. Every single Friday, we'll put a topic on the table and we'll discuss. We're going to move into the Dear Brotherly Advice section of our show today. All right. This is the Dear Brother section of our show. I always want to end the show answering questions, giving advice. Today, I'm giving relationship advice. Okay. Some other days I give business advice and other different advice. Today, I want to give relationship advice. I want to give relationship advice. I also want to give single advice. I also want to give divorced advice. I want to give relationship advice today. So I know you guys are on a little delay. And so behind me, maybe 10 or so seconds. But I want you guys to start putting in the chat whatever advice you need about future relationship. Christian, how should I be looking at this? Christian, how should I be thinking about this? Yo, bro, I got this chick. I think she's crazy. Put it in the chat right now. Before I end the show, I'm going to answer every single one of those questions. All right. Let me go back through our notes for the day so we can make sure we get them. All right. Our show for the day was marrying. What's the real benefit of marriage? Or is there any benefit in marriage? My statement is no. There's no benefit in marriage. There's only benefit in the person you marry. In other words, stop marrying marriage. You're not marrying marriage. You're marrying a person. Right? Right? And marriage is not about a wedding day. It's about a life. Okay? It's about that. So number one, why marriage alone isn't solution? We talked about this. We glorify marriage. We don't glorify compatibility. I want to talk about that more before we go. All right. Let me get back in the chat. Let me see. Investigating heavy. Some nights might be lonely, but absolutely all day long. Yes. It's worth it. It's worth it. You got to investigate. An investigation is nothing but communication, y'all. Investigation is not getting up in somebody's face trying to, no. Because then you walk somebody right out of your life, right? Investigation is asking more questions. Stop being so damn in love, y'all. And it's not really in love. You know what? You're not in love. You're in lonely. That's why we make the decisions we make. We're in lonely. A lot of us aren't in love. We're in lonely. And when you're in lonely, you do all kinds of insane things. You make all kinds of insane choices because you were in lonely, not in love. Right? I want to get into this too, as well. I want to talk about the difference between marriage and marrying well, because there's a difference between marriage and marrying well. Okay, are you marrying well? What's marrying well? Marrying well. Does the person have a framework of marriage in their mind? What's the person's framework? What is marriage to them? What does marriage look like to that person? You got to ask these questions, right? I saw people having a conversation the other day where it's a new wave of let's get married but not live together. See these waves, y'all? There's wave through generation. That's the new wave now. Let's get married but live separately. That's a new wave, right? People will make up stuff to do to try to get away from how things really supposed to go, right? We will, but there's a difference. There's a big difference between, because this is the thing. Let me see. I gotta find it for y'all. All right. See, marriage is about an institution. This is why when people talk about, well, why I gotta have paper and this and that. Marriage is the institution. Marriage is the institution. When you're talking about marriage, you're talking about an institution. When you're talking about compatibility, you're talking about a person. You're talking about your connection with that person. And that's a big difference. It's a huge difference between marriage and marrying well. Right? Formal, legal, right? Paperwork, the state, right? And that's fine. That's all legal documents. I get that for money purposes and all that. But are you marrying well? Marrying well is the quality of the partnership. What's the quality of the partnership? Is it quality? Are they lifting you up? Right? Are they lifting you up? Are they making you find the best in you? That's the question. Because it's a big difference between marrying well and just marrying. So stop getting married. Start marrying well. What are you looking for? I'm looking for alignment of values, emotional maturity, mutual growth. This is where a lot of you ladies complain about men. You don't feel like you're growing with a man, or you feel like men are growing, or you feel like your man is growing slower than you. Right? That's the difference. And love with purpose. Not just love. What's the purpose? The love with purpose. Love with purpose behind it. You can always tell a man loves you by how he wants to take care of you. And let me tell you something, ladies. Men only have two things. Men only have two currencies. Words and time. Men have two currencies, words and time. That's what men have. If they're not giving you either of those, they don't love you. Gentlemen, what's a woman's currency? Kindness. A woman's currency is kindness. If she's not being kind to you, she doesn't want to be with you. Understand the difference. All right. Okay. I just seen the chat is blinking. Okay. To jump in there, y'all, dear brother, the advice. We've been in here an hour and 23 minutes. So I'm gonna do some advice before I get out of here. Dear brother, the advice. I'm giving relationship advice today. Jump in the chat and throw in there what advice you need today before I get out of here. Let me see. Marriage seems to be less of a goal these days. Yes. Marriage is seeming to be less of a goal, and these are the reasons why. The reason why is because people don't understand marrying well. They don't understand. They don't see the benefit in marriage. Again, because the benefit is not marriage. The benefit is the person. We don't know how to choose the person because we don't know how to choose ourselves. Yes, people aren't getting married anymore. But guess what? That's what, El Bug. People still having babies. Ain't that something? We won't get married, but I'll let you put your seed in my body, and your body produces a baby for me over the next 9 months, but we have no connection. Think about that. Same thing that happened to Adam and Eve in the garden. Together, but not together. Together, but blaming each other. Yeah, it's falling apart. It's falling apart. All right, let me see. Did I miss the chat? Let me see. All right. Any advice to young married couples with kids trying to gain a strong connection in the world that they feel like it wants us apart? We have no community. Any advice to young married couples with kids trying to gain a strong connection in a world that feels like it wants us apart? Beautiful question. This is what I tell couples. Beautiful young married couples. This is what I tell beautiful young married couples. You have a world and they have a world. You have a world you grew up in, they have a world they grew up in, and then you bring these worlds together. Okay? The benefit, one of the greatest benefits of marrying the right person is that then you get to create a world that belongs to you. And then you get to invite people in the world that you created. You see what I'm saying? So yes, the world doesn't want couples together. The internet is speaking against marriage. All these things are against marriage. The beautiful thing about marriage is that two people with two different worlds can come together, create their own, and invite people into their new world. You don't have to live according to the standards of the world, and your marriage doesn't have to be put under the pressure of this world. Create your own world, your own love world for your children and your spouse. And I guarantee you there's other couples just like you guys that want to be a part of that world. Create it. Don't live under the pressure of this world. Create the one that your love creates together. Let me see. Xavier, how can I work on my ego while being single in hopes of a relationship? That's a great. First of all, clap it up for Xavier. My goodness. Dude, you're a man. You understand me, Zay? You're a man, bro. Most men aren't even asking these questions. How can I work on my ego while being single in hopes of a relationship? Check the parts of you that you don't like. As a man, it's good to do that every now and then. What I think every man should have is a constant state of reflection. He should create a constant state of reflection, right? Not reflecting when things go wrong, not just reflecting when things go right. As men, we should have a constant state of reflection, not a constant state of beating yourself down, a constant state of reflection, testing your thoughts, thinking, asking yourself questions, having a banter with yourself to check where you are, right? So investigate yourself, Zay. Investigate yourself, Xavier, and start looking at the parts of you that you don't like about you, right? You start looking at the parts that you don't like about you. That's how you check your ego. You check yourself. See, me, I can call myself an asshole. I've done that. I've sat there and said, man, you're an asshole. Because I honestly talk to myself and honestly respond to myself. Right? If I'm thinking something stupid, it's like, yo, that's stupid, yo. See, you don't need, as a man, you got to develop your own voice that speaks to you, that will check yourself. That's what you got to develop. As a man, develop a voice in you that will check your own weakness. That's why I love what the scripture's talking about. You judge yourself, and then you don't need other people to judge you. So always be in your own face. Again, don't beat yourself down, but be in your face. Don't let yourself get away with the foolishness. You thinking something stupid? Hey, man, that's stupid. Why are you thinking like that? Oh, I'm thinking like this. You can have the whole conversation inwardly. Great, brilliant question. Great question. Great question. All right. Let me read this note just like I put it. All right. Y'all can still go in the chat if you need, dear brother, the advice. I got a few more minutes to go. Okay. Let me read this to you. Why marrying well matters. A person can enter a marriage for the wrong reasons: societal pressure, fear of loneliness, financial stability, or external expectation of other people. The marriage can feel unfulfilling and even lead to resentment on the other hand. When you marry well, you create a foundation that stands the test of time, rooted in mutual respect and aligned goals. The key point: create a foundation that stands the test of time, Y'all can still go in the chat, but I'm gonna say this. One of my favorite scriptures is when he talks about the house built on the sand. That when the storm comes to that house, the sand will move and that house will fall down. Then he says that there was a group of people that built their house on a rock. That when the storm came, the house wobbled, but it would not come down because it was built on firm foundation. As you guys go building relationships, if you're single, and if you're married and you're building your relationship, don't build it on emotional sand that can move back and forth with the waves of life. A bad day shouldn't ruin your marriage. If it does, that marriage built on sand. Right? A rough conversation, an argument, if that can move the sand upon which your marriage is built on, that means you don't have a firm foundation. But when you build something on a rock, it can stand the test of time. You don't have a good relationship until it's been tested with time. You don't have a relationship until it's been tested with disagreement. But if you're with the right person, that disagreement will be okay. If you're with the wrong person, two of you will stand on both sides of the fence staring at each other until someone else submits to the other. If you're working on a relationship where someone must submit down to their ankles, down to their knees, down to their face in order to stay in that relationship, you don't have a relationship, you have what is called bondage. But if two people can come face to face, disagree, but see love in each other's eyes while they disagree, that means we stand this test of time and we can still stay together. The question today was, is marriage worth it? Are there any benefits to marriage? I say there's no benefit in marriage. There's only benefit in who you marry. And if that's the truth, then we need to do further investigation, first into ourselves and then into that person, so we can make sure we're not marrying a fantasy, but marrying a human being. All right, y'all, great show today. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for hanging out. Every Friday, remember, Relationship Fridays. We'll throw something on the table and we'll discuss relationship. Some of you right now, email me at christian@christianwinters.com. You can throw even a subject you want to talk about with relationship. Every Relationship Friday, we'll take one of those subjects and it will be the topic of our discussion. Go to my website, christianwinters.com. I do some coaching there as well. If you need some coaching, go to my website. You can set up your one-on-one coaching with me and we can get to it. Remember, go purchase my books, everybody. Dear Sister, the Solar Sarah. Go purchase the book, The Solar Sarah, on Amazon.com right now. Go get the book, The Solar Sarah. Go get it. Go get it. It's on Amazon right now, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Brother. I'm calling it Dear Brother. It's not the name of Home, Where Hurt Men Heal. Go get the book Home. It's on Amazon right now. And for some of you that are interested in religion and the direction of the church and what God is doing, I Left Church to Serve God. It's on Amazon right now. I got 3 offerings on Amazon right now. Go get these books. They will change your life. All right, everybody. I say to my brothers and my sisters, remember that you matter today. You count. You matter to me. You matter to each other. I'm so thankful for this community. And always remember this, because it's very important to remember. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. All you got, family, is right now. What you gonna do with it? No fear, no shame, no compromise. Hey, I love y'all. Today is Friday. I'll see y'all Monday.